Let's see your toes if you're not wearing the J. So you barefoot right now?
Nah, I'm wearing my golden gooses right now.
Oh wow, you've switched up with the golden gooses.
Dude,
Oh,
that's the Kyle Allen style right there.
What is an NFL quarterback room like?
So 2 years ago, I trained Sam Darnold and Josh Allen and Kyle Allen. That was my draft class.
I think that this league is filled with opportunities, and the guys that stay in the league for a long time are the guys that take advantage of those opportunities.
I'm just a big believer in repetition.
And I'm a big routine guy, and goals never end.
I'm just a big.
And I'm a big routine guy, and goals. Once I stepped on that field today, I was good, man.
Welcome to The Room, episode 12. Got a banger guest today, somebody near and dear to Kyle Allen's heart, Taylor Heinicke of the Washington Commanders. We actually pre-recorded this earlier today, just scheduling, and I think those of you who are new to The Room are going to take a lot from it. Those of you who've been following along on this journey that Kyle and I are on, interviewing these players on huge weeks and huge matchups, I think you'll be able to pull a lot from it. But if you are new to The Room, this is the quarterback room. I mean, we call this The Room because it's the most important room in any building. If you have a quarterback, you have a chance. If you don't have a quarterback, very seldomly do we see a team with a chance. But in that room, Kyle's in the room right now. Kyle's the backup quarterback for the Houston Texans. I played in the league for a while. I worked with players, high school, college, and pro. I hope work with a lot of people who are in that room. The conversations are authentic. Quarterbacks are exposed to more life, more stuff, more BS, more high highs, more low lows than any of the other players in that locker room. And so this is concept. The Room is sharing that with the different fan bases and football fans in general. I know a lot of young people watch this as well. We're growing. We're doing our thing. We're learning. We're trying to be great at this. And so secondary to our day job, which Kyle is with the Texans and I'm doing whatever the hell I'm doing. But I think you're going to love this Taylor Heinicke interview. One of the most fascinating journeys. Everybody knows who Tom Brady is. Everybody knows who Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, all these guys. And their life is so much out there on social media and the media picks them up that people don't realize that there's Taylor Heineckes out there who were in the XFL as a backup quarterback 3 years ago, who've had to claw and fight and get their way into the league. Kyle has a similar journey. I had a similar journey, minus the success and the starts. But it's real, and it's very, very similar to a lot of people's journey in life. And so it was a fascinating conversation, and we'll get into that. But before we get into the interview, let's do some other stuff. What do you want to do, Kyle?
we're gonna get to throw it deeper, check it down, but
Let's do
we'll
it.
go Taylor Heinicke interview first. I think the interesting part about this interview is I have known Taylor since the second I stepped in the league. He was on my rookie year in Carolina. He was there. I was the four or a quarterback. Yeah, there's four quarterbacks on teams sometimes in preseason. I was the four. He was the three. We spent 2 years together there, a couple years together in Washington. Now we're in different places balling, but we've literally, like, our journeys are so intertwined, and we talk about it a lot in this interview. And I think it's probably one of the best interviews we've done so far because of all the different things. Like he said it, like we've been different stepping stones in each other's career. And he has so many great stories from the XFL in his days with when we were with Cam in Carolina, all the ups and downs. And when we talk about journeys, we go through 2-minute drills. Like his journey is all time and it's super relatable. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear that interview. It was one of my favorite interviews we've done.
And one of my favorite things from it too is he talks about how he modeled his game as a young kid growing up in Wisconsin, watching Brett Favre play and being a diehard Packer fan and watching Brett Favre play. He just beat Aaron Rodgers at Green Bay 2 weeks ago. So this whole full circle-ness that happens in the NFL, your idols become your rivals. And I love it. So with no further ado, let's get into Throw It Deep or Check It Down.
So throw it deep, check it down. We're going to get you some takes around the league, some thoughts. We got 3 of them today, and we're going to throw it deep if we agree with it, or we're going to check it down if we don't agree with it. First one, Jordan, I'm going to throw all of these to you. A quarterback's first start should be celebrated even if they play shit. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I interface with quarterbacks of all ages, and I know a lot of kids who finally got to start on varsity, and they've been in that program for 3 years or sometimes 4 years. That's a milestone moment, college especially. I mean, saw K-State last week play Oklahoma State, and the K-State quarterback comes in and throws for 4 touchdowns and 386 in his first start, and they beat him 45-0, something crazy. Like, that's a memorable one. But then again, there's really shitty ones. I don't remember my first start in college, but I I know we won one game that year, so I'm sure I lost. But yeah, I think it absolutely should be celebrated. It's a milestone moment. Now, I'm throwing it deep. Now, if you go, I made it, and you stop working and you change who you are, then you're dead on arrival anyway. So I check it down in that case. But no, I think it should be celebrated. Absolutely. It's a milestone moment. You can play a lot of receiver, but there's 3 or 4 receivers out there. O-lineman, you might play 6 or 7 guys over the course of a game. Only one guy touches that ball and gets to say set hut and call the play. Everything that goes into playing quarterback, I think, should be celebrated. You?
It's really hard for me to do this because I completely agree with you that it's a milestone moment, but I'm checking it down on this strictly because it's something that I think you told me, Kirk Herbstreit told you. You got to be ready. You just don't get opportunities all the time. You got to be ready to execute when your opportunity comes. And especially in this league, in the NFL and in college, right? You're not going to get many opportunities and you have to execute. And if you play shitty, you don't know. This could be your only time. Like you may never get another opportunity. And so I'm in between because it should be celebrated. It's a milestone moment. Like you've made it to where a team thinks that you're good enough that you should be on that field. The one guy, there's 32 teams in the NFL. There's one guy out there at quarterback, but I got to check it down. You got to play good. But going back to QB stories before we move on to the next one, my first quarterback start in the NFL was my rookie year. That year I had gotten cut earlier in the year, was on my parents' couch for 9 weeks, re-signed to the practice squad in Carolina, was just having the time of my life being on practice squad, not having any worries, just practicing through the week, going on trips, watching NFL games, being in it. Cam Newton goes down week 15. Taylor Heinecke, who we have on the show today, he goes in week 16, tears his tricep. And then next thing you know, last week of the season, we've lost 7 games in a row. We're playing the number 1 team in the NFL at the time, the Saints, who were 13-2. Last game of the season, everyone's kind of checked out. I think Chris McCaffrey played like a series and a half that game. All our stars didn't play. And we end up going and winning 30-7, balled out. And so for me, the first start was super memorable and really important in my career, and kind of goes back on what I said is when you get your opportunities, you have to capitalize on them. So, and
I think you threw for 297, 2 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, I think, something like that. So that was real memorable.
Yeah.
I was going nuts. I was in Tahoe. I was in Incline Village, staying at Dilfer's house at the casino with money on that game. And it was like 10 a.m. and I'm just pacing around this casino. There's nobody in it. It smells like smoke. There's nobody in there. Just going nuts. And these people are like, are you cheering on the Carolina game right now? I lost my shit. That was a milestone moment for me as well. So it was awesome. Another milestone moment was the next year when you started at Arizona, where you're from, went down, beat them, threw for 4 touchdowns. That was awesome. I was at that game. Shout out to DQ and Kearney for making the trip. Drove to Arizona, watched you play, drove back that night. That was another memorable day, memorable start for you and the 100 people you had at that game.
Real supporter. Appreciate that. All right. Yep. All right. I'm going to move on to the next one. Similar take, similar question. Quarterbacks approach a game differently when they're playing against their former team. As much as they'll say in front of the media, it's just another game. It doesn't really matter. It really matters more. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm throwing that deep. 100% it matters more, especially if they it's one thing if you played on that team. It's another thing if you were the quarterback on that team. And I think about my brother. He's played, I think, 8 years in Cincinnati. He was the number 1 pick there. He signed a big deal there. He had a very, his exit, his departure, demanding a trade, going out of there. Then he went to Oakland. Then he goes to Arizona, and he finally gets a chance on Sunday Night Football to play against the Bengals in Arizona, and they were good then. And dude threw 3 picks in the first half. Oh. And I remember and Andy Dalton's the starter and all that stuff. And I think 2 of them were bad picks too. And I'm sitting in the box. It was halftime. I think it was a 7-point game or something like that. And my family's suite, my brother's family suite, was next to the opposing owner's suite. And so, and I played for the Bengals too. I went next door. I talked to Mike Brown and Katie Blackburn and Paul Brown Jr. and, saw everybody and said, what's up? And tried to before the game. It just didn't work out. So I went over at halftime, said hello and all that stuff. And then my brother comes out and throws 4 touchdowns in the second half and comes back and wins. And it was just, yes, it meant more. And I guarantee if we look up quotes from my brother in the media that week, I guarantee he said, it's just another game. And we just take it 1 week at a time. And we've got to wrap up on defense and complete balls and run the ball. I'm sure he had all those token bullshit answers, but come on, that was the Super Bowl.
especially your brother. Yeah. I'm
Yes.
a too. And when I think about this, I think about, we had a trip down in Mississippi this year where we were hanging out with some guys and Favre was down there, and Favre was telling us stories around the fire late at night about when he left Green Bay, that whole situation in Green Bay, he left Green Bay and he was I think he went to New York first, right?
He went to the Jets.
He went to the Jets first. And I can't remember what the situation was, the games. He was in Minnesota too, so maybe it was in Minnesota. But when he was talking about going back and playing Green Bay and all the different things that like went on in Green Bay that happened that made him, just so many different emotions involved in that game and how good it felt. I can't remember if he won or not. But
no, he was saying when he went to New York to the Jets, AFC, he was like, whatever it takes for me to get to the NFC North.
Yeah, he was trying to get back. That's what it was.
Whatever it takes.
So that year in New York,
he was like, I'd have played for free.
Yeah.
Just get me in a Vikings uniform.
I'll take this year in Jets prison over here, and then I'm going straight back to the NFC North so we can play them twice a year. So so there's no doubt that it matters more. And you're so right. People in the media, they're just going to say, oh, it's just another week. They're not going to try and create stories, but especially at the quarterback position when you are the franchise and you poured so much into your former team, like Carson poured so much into Cincinnati, and to get a win too. I think that's probably better than most other games, even playoff games sometimes.
And it's definitely heightened if they got rid of you.
Yeah.
I don't know if Goff has played the Rams yet. You know what I mean? But those types of situations, it's wow, this is the Super Bowl, bro.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Last one before we get into the interview. Auburn recently fired their head coach, another huge buyout situation. That was
quick, bro. That was quick. I don't know anything about that guy, but that was quick.
Real quick. And it just seems like money is endless in college football. But besides the point, do we think Auburn is the best open head coaching position in the right now? And I think we've talked about this before, but off the big open. Now you got Nebraska, Wisconsin, Georgia Tech, Arizona State, Colorado. And I'll add in more on that. If it is the best spot, or if one of these is the best spot, what makes a place a good spot? Like what makes a coach want to go there, and what makes a coach thinks that he can get players to go there?
Well, I think the coaching world, it still revolves around money, and it's the thing that nobody talks about. Like entrepreneurs talk about money and business people talk about money. You've got young friends that are ascending in their career and going from director to manager. So as players, we talk about money, right? We all know what everybody makes, right? Coaches, they just don't talk about it a ton. But one, can you pay me top dollar? Or am I taking this job to then get a job that can pay me top dollar? So one, I think it's got to be money. And for some coaches, maybe that's second on the list or third on the list, but I don't think it's fourth on the list for anybody. So Auburn, just getting rid of a coach that quickly and moving on, they're going to swing for the fences. They're not going to try and get somebody at the same level as the last guy. They're going to try and get, I've heard, we've seen rumors with Bill O'Brien, people like that. So you're going to try and level up. So financially, one, the second part of the finances is can we afford to compete at the highest level? So I think Auburn can afford to compete at the highest level, whether that's NIL, whether that's facilities, whether that's all the other things that go into it. So from a financial standpoint, do you have the resources to allow us to compete at the highest level? Of that list, I don't know specifically what Wisconsin and Nebraska have. I know Colorado doesn't. I know Arizona State doesn't. I know Georgia Tech doesn't. So I think Auburn is the best job. And I think as of right now, that's probably the best landing spot. And there'll be more turnover. There'll be some other spots that open up and we'll see what happens. But people have, they won a national title there with your boy Cam not that long ago.
Yeah,
and had a Heisman Trophy winner and the number one pick at that school not that long ago. And they can compete. They're in the SEC. You win 4 or 5 really hard games a year. You beat up on the rest of them, and poof, you're in the college football playoff. It's not that simple, but it is that simple. You don't have 9 tough opponents. They got 3 or 4 or 5 if you're at the top tier. And so, yeah, I think that's a great job. It's crazy because I've been to Auburn, training Bo Nix, training Jarrett Stidham. It's not an appealing place. There's nothing there. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour and a half from Atlanta. You're out there. But the majority of the best college programs are in the sticks anyways. So I think Auburn's that spot. I'm throwing it deep, and I think they can do it. Although there's merit to some of these other spots. What can Nebraska do? The thing in Nebraska is the only way to go is up, right? So yeah, it's Nebraska, but you can build something there.
when you look at these two, I think Auburn from a financial standpoint and support and competitive standpoint, maybe not competitive, but all those other things, it's the best spot, right? You're going to have the most resources. You're in the SEC. They're going to pour money into recruiting, but at the same time, you're going to have to compete with probably the best conference in football. The SEC East might be the best conference in football this year, but you got Alabama, A&M struggling this year, but they're always good. You got all these good teams in the SEC West. Maybe a coach looks at that and said, where can I compete better? Like, can I compete at Wisconsin? The only team, Michigan and Ohio State are great, but that's less teams to compete with. Nebraska, I don't see Arizona State, Colorado, maybe Nebraska or Wisconsin competing just off of the fact of, okay, do I have enough resources here to turn this around and compete, right? I think Auburn is a great spot, and you alluded to it, they won, but that was with Cam, right? Cam team, after Cam left, fell off. And they had Nick Marshall when I was in college, and they played good, but then they fell off at the end there too. But I don't know. I'm going to throw it deep still, though. I think it's out of all those, I would say it's the best for a coach. Resources.
It's just a small gap, though, right? Because even Stidham, when Stidham was there his junior year, he beat Bama and Georgia. They were both ranked number 1 when he beat them. Yeah, right. Great. Now they didn't end up number 1. They probably lost to somebody. I don't remember exactly how that year went, but they weren't as good as Bama and they weren't as good as Georgia, but they won both those games. You know what I mean? And they have put a lot of dudes in the league. So I'm with you on Cam being Cam, but the guy was an MVP of the NFL. But yeah, I think Auburn's the spot. If I was in coaching, I think money aside, it'd be so fun to just try and turn around Colorado. I freaking love Colorado. If I didn't I only had one offer and it was 3 weeks before signing day. If I didn't get that offer, there's a really good chance I would have gone and just been a college student at Colorado, with my buddies, and got really good at snowboarding and known everything under the sun about IPAs. That would have been the route for me.
Perfect. It's great.
Yeah. And ASU is another spot where it's that place is so fun and so easy to entertain and bring people to, that if you can rally, there's a lot of money in Phoenix. You're from there. Mm-hmm. And so it'd be pretty, you're from there. It would be rad for ASU to be rolling. It'd be rad. It'd
be awesome. I grew up going to Arizona State games. I want to say it was Plummer, but I think I'm too young for that. I'm not sure, but I grew up when they were good.
It's probably Andrew Walter. Big tall dude.
Maybe. But they were top 10 team back when it was Pac-10 back then. Pac-10 was rolling, right? I went to a USC Reggie Bush game in Sun Devil Stadium there. And that stadium used to be where the Cardinals played. They played Super Bowls at that stadium. It's got all the potential, and it just doesn't make sense why schools like that can't bring in top guys consistently. And I don't know, maybe it's a conference thing. Maybe it's the SEC versus Big Ten versus Pac-12 thing. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Fun fact, my brother, Carson, was the number 1 recruit in the country. His choices came down to 2 schools, USC, where he went, and Colorado.
That's wild.
Number 1 recruit in the country. It was heavily because of Rick Neuheisel and the coach at the time, but pretty crazy that the number 1 recruit in the country was choosing between SC and Colorado.
Glad he picked SC.
Yeah.
All right, that was Third Deeper. Check it down. We're going to get an interview with Taylor. Like we said at the beginning, we've recorded this before, but this was an awesome interview. Taylor's one of my favorite teammates I've ever played with. Great stories, great locker room guy, respected by everyone that he's been around. He's balling right now. He's got the Minnesota Vikings coming up next week, a team who he used to play on as well. So let's get right into this interview with Taylor Heinicke. All right, welcome to the room. This is what episode is this, Jordan? It's episode 12.
12, bro.
So 12, we got a very special guest. Jordan doesn't know this guest. One of the first guests that Jordan doesn't know. One of my closest homies from the league, probably my best homie for the first couple years. We've both had crazy journeys. It seems like we've almost been on the same team randomly for the past 4 or 5 years. But starter of the Washington Commanders now, Taylor Heinicke. Thanks for coming on, bro.
No, thanks for having me, man. I first saw a couple clips on your Instagram that you had a new podcast, and I was like, oh man, he's kind of doing, I've always wanted to have a podcast, so you beat me to it.
Well, you're a big Joe Rogan guy. You can hop on whenever you want, man.
Whenever.
I just feel like it's so saturated now, man. It's just you got to find your niche.
Yeah. Well, the niche. This is the quarterback.
This is the niche. There's nothing where there's actual quarterbacks talking like quarterbacks. This is not an interview. This is a conversation. Yeah, there you go. I'm with you. I thought it was saturated too. That's why it took me so long. But here we are. It's funny, man. I think little kids, I'm around all different age quarterbacks. Little kids want to be the same couple of people. They want to be Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Tom Brady and all that and Aaron Rodgers. They want to be like one of like 7 people, right? And then you get older vets or retired guys like me, and it's your story is the one that everybody loves and clings to. They've already seen Drew Brees. They've already seen all these guys. And so, I mean, real talk, I'm a fan, dude. I've been watching, and I'm a fan in a way that I'm more of a fan of what you've done than what some of the best players in the league are doing, because they were drafted really high and they battled through it and they're having success, and they should have success based off their talent level and their entry point into the league. But you and my co-host, whatever else you are those are the journeys I gravitate towards. And I talk a lot about your journey being up and down. My logo for Summit is a mountain range because that's literally your career. It's how well you handle the highs and the lows. If you're really good at handling the highs, congrats, bro, but the lows are going to get you. Same thing if you're back against the wall, you play your best ball, and then you have success and you fold. I've seen that too. So I love that you've had high highs and low lows, and it seems like you've been consistent. And Kyle's radar on cool guys is really, really firm. So the fact that he loves you, it's like, well, you're in, man. I love it. So thanks for joining, man.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Kyle's talked a lot about you throughout the years. It's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I want to dive into the journey right now. I think it's really funny. Like my first year in the league, first of all, brought like football, making football fun again. I think you kind of felt the same way coming to Carolina when it was me, it was you, Garrett Gilbert. I remember you and me, I didn't have a car, so I was always riding around in your truck. We were always I was going wherever you were going. Like I was following you like a freaking whatever. I was on your ass always. But you and me both didn't think we were making that team once. I remember every day during training camp, and this is kind of how you are as is, but you were like, dude, I'm not making this team, bro. Like, what was your mindset in that camp?
I feel like it was such a long time ago, but it was only what, 4 years ago?
4 or 5 years ago.
I remember Garrett, because Garrett was there before us, and he actually started a couple games that year prior, and he did well. So I remember coming in, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm going to be that training camp body, just like that arm to, kind of take stress off those guys. And, obviously, football's kind of a business. NFL's kind of a business. So, once you get in, you kind of understand the whole roster business. Okay, they have an established guy in Garrett that the whole locker room loved. Obviously, Cam wasn't going anywhere, and then you bring in yourself, who's a rookie that can toss the rock around. You saw it in preseason. You could play ball. So I was just thinking the whole time, I'm kind of that odd man out. They want to keep Cam, keep Garrett because they know what they have with him. Develop Kyle, and I'm kind of a camp arm, and that was kind of my mindset, because you kind of see that throughout the league. The more years you're in, you kind of start understand, why people are there at certain times. So yeah, that was what was going through my mind when I first got there.
Yeah, and then you end up balling out that preseason. I remember it was like a heated battle between you and Garrett too. People don't understand. Like people are watching preseason and they're like, "Oh, this football is so shitty. Like guys suck. Like no one cares." But it's like literally a battle for like life and death. Like especially for you and Garrett, and then for me in that last preseason game, I was just like, I need to play good, or I'm never playing in this league again. It was like you got to take advantage of that opportunity. And then you ball out, and you're the backup that year, backup the whole year. I get cut. I come back later in the year.
I didn't realize that. I didn't know that whole time that you were the 2. Interesting.
Yeah. He was the 2 in Carolina that whole year. Actually, I want to talk about this before we go on. That year in Carolina, Cam had his shoulder injury, and throughout the year, when there was a Hail Mary situation, you would have to go in and throw it.
Yeah.
And it happened like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it was pretty bizarre. So the first time it happened was against the Ravens. It was right before half. And it was like 45 seconds left. Or no. We're on like the 45, and there was like 9 seconds left, I think. Maybe like 6 seconds left. And coach was like, Hail Mary. And Cam was like, I can't make it there.
Cam's like, nah.
So we took a delay of game. And coach was just like, Taylor, warm your arm up real quick. So, not throwing for 2 hours. I'm trying to warm my arm up. They throw me out there.
Who told you or Scott?
Rivera told me.
Oh, God.
So I'm trying to warm my arm up to, throw a bomb. And so they just throw me out there. And I get out there, and they're like running, you guys maybe play Madden. They're running like Engage 8. They're like running cover zero blitz. And so I get the ball, and you just hear Greg Olsen yelling at me, throw it to me, throw it to me. So I throw him like a 10-yard, just lollipop ball. He runs another 5 yards, gets out of bounds with 1 second left. And we kick like a 56-yard field goal right before half. And that was one of, I think, 4 Hail Marys that year that I had to perform.
That was probably the one that went the best.
Yes.
You're a hero after that one. That was great. And then I remember once I came back, there was at least 2 more scenarios where you had to go in and you were getting smoked. Like, go from just sitting on the sidelines watching the game to having to launch a 65-yarder, sit in there. And every time you get hit, I'm not gonna lie, you know this, it's a yard sale anyways. But on the Hail Mary, you get fucking yard sale.
Oh yeah.
Go and watch any game, especially like old preseason Taylor clips. Like, that's always the joke. Is every time Taylor gets hit, it's a fucking yard sale, man. But
It still is, man.
You always get back up. But I remember last year I was strapping up like once or twice a game because you're gritty, man. You always get back up. But going back into that year, so you're the backup that whole year, and then Cam gets hurt. You get a chance to play against the Falcons, right? You go in, you're playing good to start, and then you tear your tricep, which is crazy, right? You have a really gnarly scar on there. You actually got a sick tattoo over your scar on it. Now that I remember that tattoo's awesome. But it's your only chance, right? This kind of goes back to like it's do or die moment for you. It's your only chance. So you came back in that game with a torn tricep, with an elbow brace from like the top of your wrist to like your shoulder on your left arm, and you're basically running around there with one arm, and you didn't play great. You're not going to play great with that injury going on, but you gritted it out. What was your thoughts going through that too? Because I think you were just basically saying like, I got to do this because I don't know if I'm going to get another chance.
Yeah, so I think it happened right before halftime. I kind of blew out my whole elbow. All the ligaments in my elbow were gone, and then they didn't know this at the time, but I had a torn tricep. And in the back of my mind, when I was in that training room, was this might be my last chance I ever get to play. So I just told RV, I was like, hey man, let's give me whatever you got, the Torterol, give me a brace, I don't care. I'm getting back out there because we were out of the playoff race anyway. And coach put me back in. And again, that was going through my mind was, hey, this is going to be the last time I ever get to play this game. I'm going to gut it out and try and have some fun with it.
That's dope.
Yeah, you did gut it out. And then I think this kind of goes back to Jordan, what you were saying earlier about your journey, right? Your journey's been very crazy. It's kind of weird how our paths have crossed, because after that, you obviously didn't play the next week because it's crazy that you even finished that game. Your arm was blown out. Thank God you finished that game because I was not ready to play. There's no chance. I threw like 4 passes and completed them, and I was like, I remember it was 2-minute drill, or it was the 2-minute warning, and I look over to the sideline and I see you over there, and I'm like, ready? Like, come on, get my ass out of here, bro. I've been on the streets before that. But so you don't play the next game. I play the next game, and I played well in that game. And then the next year we draft Will Grier, right? And so it's me, Cam, Will Grier, and you. And it's kind of another situation where you feel like you're the odd man out. And we kind of go through camp, and the reps are different. It's kind of like your journey, right? Kind of like all of our journeys. Jordan's been around a ton of guys with different journeys right there. Like, what were you thinking at that point?
Pretty much the same thing, but I think it was more solidified. And
yeah.
Because I remember we were close that year, and I remember telling you, hey, I was Scott for what 3-4 years at that point.
Yeah, you were with Minnesota. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I took the initiative at that point, like, hey, I'm most likely going to be out. And these are my boys, so I'm going to try and help them in whatever way I can. And I know I'm kind of digressing here, but like when I was out of the league, and I was taking classes online, I found a lot of joy in just coaching high school kids or helping, whatever kids that were training at the gym that wanted to get better. I would take the time out and train them. And I felt, I had a lot of joy in that. So I think that stemmed from that year when I felt like I was the odd man out and kind of just helping you guys in any way I could and having fun with it. But yeah, that was a more solidifying year where I kind of knew I was going to be on the move.
Yeah, it's kind of weird when your career gets to those points, Jordan. I'm sure you felt like that in your career too, where you've been in different points where it's just like a political version of it all, right? Like you can see the writing on the wall, you can kind of feel it. Like I'm sure you've been in a ton of positions like that.
Yeah, it's. I just think like there's so many times in the career for a quarterback, and I played in a time where for the first half of my career, every team kept 3. And then in 2010, the new CBA, it made it really hard to keep 3 quarterbacks. So they kind of just eliminated like 20, almost every team didn't keep 3. So kind of just like 25 spots are gone. And it was just like, whoa, I used to have to be the top 96 in the world. Now I got to be like the top 75 in the world. You know what I mean? And then if somebody drafts somebody, it doesn't even matter if I'm better than them or not. It doesn't matter. They drafted them, right? Or paid them either way. And so there was every year for me, it was a lot more reasons why this wasn't going to work than it was going to work. But you juxtapose that with a bunch of the Kurt Warner stories and now the Taylor Heinecke and Kyle Allen stories and PJ Walker last week. So, it's one of those, like, there's a whole bunch of reasons why this is not going to go my way, right? Political, contractual, whatever. But I don't know, shit happens. I've seen other people make it. So whatever, I'm going to go head down and go all in, right? And I just think it's like a combination of those two. And I definitely know for a portion of my career, I spent the majority of the time focusing on the things that were out of my control and were going to keep me from getting where I wanted to go. I got older, I got more mature, I got some, from some help from a sports psychology standpoint, from a confidence standpoint. And then I played the second half of my career going, screw it, I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to pave a way here, right? And so like that mentality, you guys both have it. Taylor, where does that come from for you? Like, you know what I mean? Like you couldn't have drawn this out and bro, you could win a fucking Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like other people have come out of obscurity, and when the best player ever was drafted in the 6th round, like then that just opens the door for everybody, right? At least like from a mentality standpoint, whether it's underdog, fighter, whatever you want to label it as, like where's that coming from for you?
So I think it's a combination of a couple things. I grew up, when I was born, my dad was from Wisconsin. So when I was born, I was, a Packer fan from the jump. And I grew up watching, Brett Favre. And watching him play, he had so much passion and he had so much fun out there that's how I fell in love with the game. So, I just wanted to emulate him when I was on the field. So, I didn't play quarterback till I was in 8th grade, and that's when it really started clicking for me. And even at that point, I was still told I was too small, didn't have a strong enough arm. You're not going to make it big in, any shape or form. So, I just kept on battling, and I kind of remembered, why I started playing the game. It was because of Brett Favre. He was resilient and he had fun with it, and that's what I just kept doing. So, I still hear it nowadays. The kid's too small. He doesn't have a strong enough arm. He can't, make the big throw, make the big play. And for me, it's just, hey, I've got this far. I'm leaving all on the field every play, every game, and that's just how I played the game. That's how I fell in love with the game, and that's how I like to play. So, it's a battle every day, every game, but it's got me to this point. So yeah, I can't go back now.
Don't.
I think don't, Jordan. But I think that kind of goes into also like the end of your story, and not really the end of your story, but the end of like when we were together, right? I break my leg in Washington. Also, like earlier that year, you're texting Scott and being like, hey, do you think I could come become a coach? Like that was crazy. He was texting me, texting Scott. And even Scott told you like that was COVID year. He was just like, dude, just be ready. You never know. Scott Turner, our OC, North Turner's son. And then later that year, I break my leg. Alex Smith goes in. He has complications with his leg. Dwayne not playing very well. Then you get signed and you come in and you ball out in that playoff game. And I remember I was watching that playoff game from the box. And, to be honest with me, I'm like, I'm so pumped for you to be playing well. But at the same point in my head, it's kind of like a damn, dude, like dude's coming for my job. Same type of deal. It's like, I remember after that first game I played in my rookie year after we won and I came off and I saw you in the training room the next day. You're like, damn, man, you just took my job. It's like, this place is fucking cutthroat. Like the NFL is crazy. But the full circle, like you're coming in that playoff game, like we just talked about mindset. Like your mindset was basically like, fuck it, I'm just going to play as hard as I can and see what happens.
Yep. And, it's actually it's funny you bring that up because I was talking to someone else I think it might have been Sam Howell, our new quarterback. I was like, you would have loved Kyle. And it's funny because we kind of like stepstoned each other to where we are today. I got injured. He came in balled out. he got that job, and then vice versa in Washington. And, now I know I'm playing now, but I was back up to start the year. You're back up to start the year. We're kind of like in the same position, and we kind of just, in a weird way, helped each other get to this point by injury.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's almost like you guys like finish each other's sentences. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been balling, man. And what I always tell people, we're going to get into a new segment. I wanted to go through your story because I think your story is fucking awesome. And I don't think people know like the ins and outs of it, because there's so many different spots where you thought you were done. And I think that goes for so many different people in this league, especially bubble guys who are fighting to make the roster every camp. Every time in training camp, when you don't think you're going to make the team, you think your career is over. And the next thing you know, you're starting playing games, but you're balling. But a reason why you're balling in the next segment we're getting into, called Teach Tape, is I've always told people this: you are the sixth god, literally. You throw digs better than anyone else I've ever seen. And you know this too. And you know it a little too well because you try to fit digs into some windows sometimes that you probably shouldn't. But we're going to play a clip from last game. Actually, it was perfect. We were talking about this last week before you played the Colts, and then you dimed a dig on the last drive of the game. But what we do in Teach Tape is we try and go into the quarterback's mind like pre-snap thoughts, right? I always think it's interesting talking to different guys. I always love talking to Alex Smith about his pre-snap thoughts, what he's thinking. So take us through this play and your pre-snap thoughts and what you're looking at and why you throw digs so well.
Yeah, so let's start with the dig so well. When I first got to Minnesota in 2015, that was one of Norv Turner staples, is throwing that dig route. And it has to be on timing. It has to be a 5-step and just let it go. And I just remember I was so uncomfortable with it my rookie year. I just couldn't figure it out. And, they always use this net drill where they always put a net around 10 to 15 yards, and you had to throw over the net and have it hit the guy right in the eyes. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't figure it out. And after my rookie year, I went home and just literally threw dig routes every day and got great at it. And it's been my route ever since. And it's funny you say the sixth god, because Luke Del Rio was just calling me that last week. And yeah,
it lives on.
Yeah. So yeah, the 6 route outside dig routes are my favorite routes. For whatever reason, I'm very comfortable with it. But back to this play, we called this play Aztec, and so you're going to get a drag by this guy down here, the tight end. You got Terry at number 3. He's running a deep over route. You got Curtis Samuel at the number 2. He's running a post. And you got a dig from the outside. And, Indianapolis runs this coverage where it's like a 33 week. And it's kind of like that Seattle 3 where they have a guy just waiting for that deep over. So I knew he was going to eat him up. I knew Curtis was going to eat up that safety. And all I was just looking at was that backer. Can I fit this dig behind this backer? Number 44. Mm-hmm. And, when I saw him kind of chop his feet, 10 yards downfield, I knew I had it. And, Cam Sims is a big body. I knew I could just kind of drill it in there, and he's going to make a play. So, this was a huge one for us. I think this is in the last 2-minute drive there.
There's 1 minute left here. Yeah.
Yeah, to eat up some big. I think there's only maybe like a minute left in this game at this point. So this was a huge play for us.
Yeah, and you can see that net drill, you're looking at 44 right there. He's backing up, and he's getting to 10, 11, 12 yards right there. Mm-hmm. It's just like you said, right when you stop. And I don't even think you would need to see him chop his feet. I think you're throwing this bitch regardless.
Probably.
This is an absolute Cam Newton regardless throw right here.
Yeah, 100%.
But no, this is a huge play. And you like I said, you throw boundary field. Like, there's something to say about, even one of my coaches said, I threw one of these in scout team the other day where it was literally I threw it like a go ball because the linebacker was so deep. They make me throw to the circle in scout team here, by the way. It's the most fucking.
It's the worst.
Oh.
It's really pissing me off as of lately. I know me and you used to run the fucking scout team. We used to sling it, but I'm a circle guy now. But there's honestly you can't cover a dig unless it's man. That guy can get back there. You can find a way to get it over that guy, and you do it a lot better than most people I've ever seen.
Another beautiful thing about that route is you don't have to be perfect. You have to just lay it in an area. Just kind of put it in a little area. The receiver's gonna go get it, and obviously having a guy like Terry definitely helps.
Yeah, Terry runs through it. A stat on digs? I think we were talking about this last year. dig routes are the most intercepted route in the NFL.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, it's not even close. They did a study. I think this was before last season. They did a study on what is the most intercepted routes, and it's not even.
Well,
close.
I bet it's one of the most tipped throws from underneath coverage, and that probably has something to do with it, right? You don't throw fades over guys. You know what I mean? Over jumping defenders.
A lot of guys who struggle with touch. There's a lot of who can rip it, but that's all touch, and some of the best guys can do that.
Yeah,
I would have thought out routes would have been. Because it's easy to leave those out routes inside.
Because of Jameis from 2019. Is that right?
Yeah, I think too. I see it high school to college, college to pro. So many high school. Even though high school kids play 7-on-7, they throw it so much more. They're way more advanced than when you guys were in high school. Way more advanced than when I was in high school. They still run predominantly RPO and pure progression passing games. So if the guy's not open, they don't throw it to him, right? Like 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You don't throw people open a lot in high school football outside of fades and posts and wheels. And then you go to college and it's like kind of the same thing, but maybe you throw people open a little bit more. And then you go to the league and you got to throw people open. And so these kids, whether it's the Elite 11 or draft training, everybody can drive the ball. Everybody can layer it pretty good, and nobody really has the touch that's required to play quarterback in the NFL. And I've always believed quarterbacks get really good at what they have to do to survive. So if you're a runaround guy, and you got to get a play, you're probably going to run around. And if you're Peyton Manning at the end of your career, you're going to probably take the time to dial it in and get into the perfect play because that's what you do to survive. And so everyone kind of path of least resistance or do what you got to do to survive. And so many guys going into the league, they've never had to layer digs to survive. They throw to the open dig or they go to the next progression. And so I've just seen like a delay in guys developing that part of their game. And that's dope that you literally just went home. That's like it's like Brett Favre, right? Thrown into a tire. So that's dope that you went and solved that problem yourself. And I played with Josh McCown, who's the best dig thrower I've ever seen. But he grew up, when he got in the league, he was with Mike Martz. And Mike Martz is like 5 hitch, ball out, 4 yards inside the numbers to a spot, layer it. If he's not there, we're going to get somebody in who can get there. And if you throw a dime second window, but it should have been first window, that's a bad play. You know what I mean? It was like there's no compromising this. And so a lot of the guys that are great dig throws have been around. So one way or another, like some like tentacle has touched, the Mike Martz system. But Norv's the same way. I mean, Norv was ripping digs in there a long time ago with Aikman, So
yeah, survive in Norv's offense. That was survival for you, was learning how to throw a dig in Norv's offense.
100%.
Yeah. The other thing about that too is you don't need the best receiver in the league to get open on a dig.
No.
You can put a practice squad guy in there and you can rip a dig versus cover 2 easy. So I think it's like you don't need Terry McLaurin to complete a dig in the league.
No. But again, like Kyle said, the best way to cover a dig is press man. And, even when Terry's press man, that dig still looks open.
Yeah.
Damn, he'll find a way. It's funny with Terry too. It's like Terry will drop a wide open drag route or a hitch route and he struggles with that. But he has like a 99% catch on conflicted catches. What am I trying to say? Yeah, contested catches. Yeah. These are
it's crazy. I played with Ocho, and he basically got 2 trail, some version of 2 trail, the whole game, right, at all times, and he would catch 3 or 4 digs a game. It didn't matter with 2 trail, like where the guy jumps inside of him, lets him go, and then just swims in his wake with a safety over the top. But we ran enough like inside release stem lock 7 out of it, or dig out of it, or like lock 7 lean post cross the safety. There was enough variations of things there that it didn't matter 2 trail. I mean, my brother's gonna throw it to him anyways. So to watch people lose a guy who has help over the top, who has inside leverage and get digs, was crazy. I mean, we see it all the time. Devontae, D-Hop, these guys still do that. But that's dope, man. Good catch on that play, Kyle.
Yeah. We're gonna do a little bit less football now. We're gonna go back. We were just talking about how you always want to start a podcast. You're a huge Joe Rogan guy. Maybe the biggest Joe Rogan guy I know, which is saying a lot. A lot. There's a couple Joe Rogan guys in this room right now. Are you still a big Joe Rogan guy?
I am. I listen to him every day on the way to work.
Every single fucking day. I already knew it. All right, so we're going to play a little game. You're also a big Aaron Rodgers guy. You just beat Aaron Rodgers. Are you wearing your J's right now?
I'm not.
Let's see them toes.
You said what?
Let's see your toes if you're not wearing the J's. Are you barefoot right now?
Nah, I'm wearing my golden gooses right now.
Oh wow, you've switched up with the golden gooses.
Dude,
Oh,
that's the Kyle Allen style right there.
that's big money Taylor right now. He's a Chucks guy. Come on. All right, but
I used to be specifically Chucks.
yeah, but big Aaron Rodgers fan too. You're a Packer fan, but you're an Aaron Rodgers fan off the field as well. And I'm sure, like, we used to talk about his shows with McAfee last year, and then he's got all this stuff going on this year. But we're gonna play a little game. It's gonna be called Rogan or Rodgers. Okay, I'm gonna read you a quote, and you got to tell me if you think Rogan or Rodgers said it.
Okay.
I mean, that's like literally probably could go either way on all these. But all right, first one: greatness and madness are next door neighbors, and they often borrow each other's sugar.
Rogan.
That is Rogan. That's good.
Ding.
See, you didn't think about this, but you probably know all of Rogan's quotes by heart.
It depends on how long his commute is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next one. You can't measure what's inside a man's heart.
Rogan.
It is Rogan.
Wow.
Jesus. All right. It takes a career, a lifetime to build up a reputation, and only one misstep for it all to crumble away.
That's Rodgers.
You know why that's Rodgers? You know what I just thought of? It's probably Rodgers telling his receivers that when they run the wrong route.
Yeah.
Just immediately destroying them. I'm surprised they didn't trade for anyone today, dude. I thought they were
Yeah.
going to
Yeah, that was I mean, you look at it like you just paid the guy a lot of money. Like, get him some help.
a lot of money.
watched-
And there's a lot of guys looking for help too, or looking to go to other teams.
I watched Cowherd today. He did a segment on it. He had a great point. He's like, the Packers are the most confused organization in football because are they trying to win now or are they trying to build for the future? They've made so many decisions about the future, Jordan Love being one of them. But when you pay a quarterback $50 million, you can say what you want. You're trying to win now. Like, you don't drop $50 million on somebody. Like, so what is it here? And it was like, if they don't take a pass catcher today, then they're playing on the future. And so it's like, I thought it was a great take because it's like, you can't do both, right? Like the Bears today said, we're playing for the future, right? Mm-hmm. Like San Francisco said, we're trying to win right now, right? And so it's like either or. It's like Packers are all over the place. Anyways.
Yeah,
I
crazy.
haven't heard one good argument on how, like, on where they are going, like one good take on, what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Well, it feels like it's just in between, right? It feels like they can't lose Rodgers, like Rodgers is their identity and they know if they move on, it's going to take however many years, but they just won't commit. It's like you said, they won't commit to bringing anybody in. I heard they were trying to bring Claypool in, but even like Claypool, like I just don't see him as that kind of guy. You know?
Yeah. I can see them. The only thing that would make sense to me is if they went and got OBJ.
I agree.
Here soon.
Yeah, but there's going to be sweepstakes for OBJ. It'd be crazy.
And they could lose 2 more games and OBJ could be like, nah. So, because they're out of it. That's the problem. So you need OBJ. You need something now. But, anyways.
We got one more on here. You might go 4 for 4 here. This is crazy. I look for my opportunities, not trying to go outside of my genuine realm because leadership has to be genuine and authentic.
Rodgers.
Gotta be Rodgers. Fucking, I know this is.
There's one more, Kyle.
Oh, there's one more on here? Oh, there's one more. Ooh, this is a good one. In all my travelings, all my life adventures, I have to say I still don't know what life is. Absolutely no clue. And it is a subject that is constantly on my mind. One thing I do know for a fact is that the nicer we are to our fellow human beings, the nicer the universe is to us. That sounds like some ayahuasca tea to me right there. I don't know.
Are you trying to bait me into the Rodgers? That was definitely Rogan.
Oh, you're too obvious, Kyle. 5 for 5. How about it?
I mean, dude's
he said biggest fan. I don't know. Like, back it up. Being about it.
That was good. Jordan, you're part of the XFL this year. I want to shift gears to XFL right now. You just had a bunch of quarterbacks in for XFL, right? Taylor's former XFL quarterback.
Yeah, man. Talked about you and PJ. You guys were both undefeated. They were out here last week, so the week before, you guys were both undefeated. They lost in overtime. That's right. They should have won. But yeah, talking about that. Just FYI, man, you got a room full of dudes on a couch waiting for an opportunity, not sure if it's going to come, who went like, damn, both those guys won? Like, you could see it. You know what I mean? So, you play in the NFL, you impact young people, you go back to your hometown, everybody loves Taylor Heinecke, like all that stuff's cool. But like, there's actually adults who are watching this who are like, we throw the word inspiration around a lot, as pro athlete and you inspire people, all that stuff. But like, real talk, there's some dudes who are watching this, you know what I mean? Talk a little bit about that XFL experience. I guess maybe give me like one or two things that you got from that league that helped, outside of success there, helped pave the way for an opportunity in the NFL. Like maybe what's one or two things that happened in the XFL that are showing up for you now?
I don't really know, JP, because I wasn't starting, man.
That is the craziest part about it.
Oh, I didn't know
dude.
that.
Yeah.
Well, who?
Jordan
what was his
Teamu.
Yeah, Jordan Teamu was starting. You were like the face of XFL because you were slamming seltzers after everything.
Yeah. So, I think it was kind of like one of the same deals about that 1 year that you were talking about in Carolina when we drafted Will Greer. Like you can kind of see the writing on the wall. I felt like I had a great camp. I felt like I deserved the starting spot in the XFL, and it didn't come. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I can't control what the coaches think. I'm going to try to make the best of this. And I just tried to help Jordan, and I found a lot of joy in it. It was frustrating at points because I felt like, I want to play. And my last game playing was that game I tore my tricep in.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave football in that way, but, at the end of the day, I wasn't going to be one of those guys that comes in the facility and kind of mopes around. I think that might have been the biggest takeaway I got from it is, hey, a lot of guys would die to be in my shoes, even if it's not starting in the XFL. They would want to just be on a team and play ball. So yeah. I went to work every day and I try to have fun with it. I worked hard, try to help everyone around me. And I think it ultimately got me better because you kind of take a step back and see the big picture of it all.
That's crazy. I didn't know you started. Let me turn the tables here. You got any advice for me? So I've had everyone who's under contract out for a week in September, a week in October. The draft's in November. I'll do a session with them, a couple-day session in Vegas. So I'm the director of quarterback development for all 8 teams, just kind of different approach to it, kind of outside the box thing. I got a couple more sessions with these guys, some Zooms coming up with these guys, and then we hope and curate what they do in season. You got any advice for me? Like, what's something those guys can do? You got some guys who are just in camp. You got guys that like Montez. Like, real talk, any advice? Like, what do you think they need?
I think the biggest difference from the NFL to the XFL was just kind of like the professionalism of it. I'm not going to say it was, slapdick, whatever, but it was just different. You came in, it was kind of more laid back. I remember a couple of our meetings, our coach was we were drinking beers and watching film. It was very laid back and chill. And I can see sometimes the guys would either think that they're too good for that league or they deserve better or something. There was something holding them down and whatnot. And my biggest takeaway from it was like, hey, we're all here for a reason. Whether you didn't get your shot or whether you did and didn't make the most of it, you're here. Just be present and do your best while you're here. And I think good things come from that. But you see, there was a lot of guys on that team that had the potential to play in the league. And for whatever reason, they just thought it was over, that they were too good for it. They didn't work hard anymore, and they were kind of just there to have fun. So I would kind of just stress to those guys, hey, even if you're not starting, even if it's not looking good, we've all seen it. All it takes is one play. You get your opportunity and put some good film out there. Anything can happen.
Yeah, that's rad. I think one of the things I did with them is like we got to take inventory of what's happened. Nobody's sitting in this couch right now going, I made it. I've always wanted to be in this couch in this room right now. Like, no, this didn't go. There's kids in the room are the top recruits in the country coming out of high school. So like you got to take inventory and like look backwards. Like what are the things that have led you to where you're at? Not more importantly, like what are the things that shape who you are and make you believe? Like I did full therapy. I brought in a guy who's I bring in to deal with draft guys. I did bring in to work with my vets. Like more on the therapy side of things. Like, well, I wanted to take inventory of where we're at because there's some scar tissue, there's some embarrassment, there's some resentment, there's some anger, there's some humiliation. I mean, I lived with my in-laws and I signed a deal with the Sacramento Mountain Lions of the United Football League. I was that, I was there, right? And then played 5 years in the league after that. And so like, I'm, uniquely positioned to, have an opinion on this, but But that was one thing. And there's been like a lot of growth just from that of just like, hey, let's take inventory where we're at here. Cause we've all thought this was going to go a certain way. With that being said, now it's different ownership group, different everything. So I don't think we'll be drinking beers in meetings, and it's super professional, super sick.
Sounds lame.
Yeah, kind of lame. But yeah, I'm excited to create some success stories, and you know how it is, man. It's so easy to slip through these cracks and just not be known about. Kyle Allen's a perfect example. This guy, met him when he was a sophomore in high school, and come draft time, I had to use all my chips with Norv, who I've known forever. Norv was my Senior Bowl OC in Mobile. And I knew Scott because Scott's my age and known him forever. Norv and my brother Carson were next door neighbors in San Diego. I'd use every chip just to get Scott to go to Kyle's pro day, the only coach to go to his pro day. You know what I mean? At Houston. So there's so many ways you can slip through these cracks. And there's so many people to scout, and there's so much stuff to do, and there's only so much time in the day and whatever. And so I'm excited to like kind of find those guys and help them give the pieces. And maybe they need to throw it better. Maybe they need to throw some digs over some nets. Maybe they need to like really reconnect on who they are and what they believe, and where they generate their self-confidence from. Maybe that's the only thing that's missing, and they don't have anything physical. Maybe some guys just need to freaking play. They just haven't had a chance to. This guy transferred in, then they got hurt at the wrong time. This shit happened. The other thing, now here they are with no tape, and they can freaking play. They just haven't been able to play. So, to be honest with you, man, I'm about as excited for this XFL opportunity to develop these guys as I've ever been for a draft class, as I've ever been to work with some superstar starter. I'm pumped because I was on that couch. You know, all three of us were.
You know, and the cool thing is like everyone's got their own journey. Everyone's got their own story. And a lot of people, you know, when they're growing up or when you're going through college, you're thinking, hey, I'm going to get drafted. I want to be on this team. And I'm going to, you know, go from there. And most of the time, it doesn't work out like that. And are you going to let that dictate the rest of your career? No. Like, you know, maybe your next step is the XFL. Maybe that's your next stepping stone to get in the NFL. Cool. You know, that's just part of it. Make that story unique to yourself.
Yeah.
You got any funny XFL stories before we move on from the XFL? I mean, there had to be some wild shit going on.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I always called it the JUCO of the NFL.
I was going to say, it just seemed a little JUCO-ish. I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad you did.
No, it was, but at the same time, there was professional aspects of it, and it was a lot of fun. Again, when you win, you come back to the locker room, there's seltzers waiting for you. So, you know, guys enjoyed that.
Right?
And
when
bonuses. Yep. If you win, you get like a $4,000 bonus, so there's incentive to win. You don't have guys just collecting paycheck just to go out there. So yeah, you know, some teams in the NFL, like when you're out of the playoff race, it's tough to go in that facility week in, week out.
It is tough, man.
Yeah. When you're in the XFL, weird. You might be 1-4. Hey, we win, we get money.
Yeah.
You know.
It's smart. Yeah. When you've been on enough teams to be in that situation before late in the year, that is a weird vibe in there. Man.
It's extra weird when the coaching staff thinks they're getting fired, because I've been on like 3 of those teams. I've been on some 2-14 teams, and you know, coach is in the room by himself, but he closes his door because he's making phone calls and he's checking back in with his guy from 10 years ago and all that, right? And so, like, that's when it's real weird and nobody says anything. So all of a sudden, like, the 15 minutes of joking around in the position room completely changed, and it's like, okay, somebody had a meeting, somebody's agent told them something here, now they're buttoned up. I've seen resumes out on desks. Like, that's when it starts getting heavy, because these are people in their families and their lives and all that stuff, and we're so expendable as players. So no, I'm with you for sure, but that makes sense though. I mean, there needs to be a developmental league. It's crazy, dude. Like, the LPGA Tour has a developmental league. Like, the NBA, the WNBA, soccer, baseball, basketball, everybody has a developmental league. And I get college football and the role that it plays, but no, there needs to be one that, you know, that's set apart from the others. So,
you started playing 2 weeks ago, right? Carson broke his finger in that. That was a tough game to watch on Thursday Night Football. I'm not gonna lie. That one was tough. There's. Pulled out the win in that game though, but I remember the quote you came out with. That came out with you afterwards when Carson told you he broke his finger. I could just see you sitting in that locker room being like, "I'm gonna pretend like I didn't hear that shit, man. I'm going to play golf." Is that real? You said that in it, right? Yeah,
100%.
That's such a real reaction, dude. You're like, "Come on, bro." That was like when we were playing Vegas last year, and Max Crosby was just fucking your shit up the whole game, and you came up to me in the locker room and you were like, bro, you better be ready to go, man. I don't know if I can go. And I was like, you better strap back up and get out there, man. Oh, man. That's hilarious. But anyways, you've been balling. You played, who'd you guys play with before the Colts? You guys played, you played Packers, right? Packers. Crazy game, right? I think we had a later game that day, so we got to see you threw the pick six early on. The fumble six with the holding call brought you guys back, and then you balled out the rest of the game, brought the team back. Like last week, I didn't catch it. I was just catching scores, but Sam Ehlinger first started against the Colts. Like that's a solid defense. People don't give that defense a lot of credit. It's a very solid defense. Battling all game, find a way to score at the end and win. That's kind of like, since I've been around you the last 2 years, it's kind of just the whole theme of how you play. Like it may not always be pretty at times. It may be ugly. You know, you may be yard sailing all over the place, but when it comes down to crunch time, the guys around you, they just feels like they play harder for you, you know? And I'm not like comparing you to anyone else. I'm just saying when you're in the game, even like watching your old preseason tape in Minnesota, right? Like it feels like when you're in the game, guys have play really hard for you. They have juice. Seems like big plays are made in big situations. What do you think that comes from? Because I think it's situational football, number one, is the most important thing for a quarterback. And then just getting your teammates to play hard for you is probably second important.
I would say the biggest thing is probably, I think my story has a lot to do with it. You know, they kind of see like where I've, you know, what I've been through, where I've come from, and, you know, how I play. And it's one of those deals where I'm going to leave it all on the field literally every game because it might be my last game playing. I don't know. And those guys know I'm going to give them a chance. You know, you might be double covered, but hey, you know, if I'm getting some pressure, I'm going to give you a chance.
Fuck it. Terry's not somewhere, man.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think guys kind of gravitate toward around that. You know, obviously you see the NFL is a business, and a lot of guys kind of treat it as a business. You know, when there's times where guys are like, you know, they're getting a lot of pressure, they're getting beat up a lot. They might kind of fold a little bit and try to look out for their health. You know, I don't care about my health, as you can probably see the way I play.
You really don't.
You know, I leave my body out there, and I think I learned that from Brett Favre. And I think that just it carries on, and I think a lot of guys kind of gravitate towards that because, again, no one's allowed to hit the quarterback in practice. No one's allowed to hit the quarterback. You know, you can barely even touch the quarterback in today's game, and I'm out there flying around. I think guys kind of get juiced from that.
I got a question for both of you guys. So you guys are both in a position. Let's say Kyle starts next week. I don't want to get into it, but just like, let's say Kyle starts next week. Okay. And it's not talking about Davis or anything like that. So you guys are both starting. And let's say both you guys finish off the season strong, right? You go 6-3 or something like that, right? In your starts. No matter what, they're going to be talking about drafting a quarterback or bringing in a free agent, or I don't know what Carson's contract is. And I you know what I mean? I don't know that stuff, but like either way, they're going to be talking about replacing you. Like, how do you guys think about that, right? You guys are the consummate bridge quarterback. Good enough, can come in and win us a game and can lead us. But how do I sell a fan base on Taylor Heinecke, even if you're 8-1? You know what I mean? Like, either way, like the media and the expectations around that. Like, what do you do with that? How do you stay focused? To start with Taylor, how do you stay focused on that? Because that's a position that a lot of people find themselves in. And when we were talking about before the show, we all have a common denominator here in Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Ryan's been paid to be the bridge, paid to be the guy, paid to be the back. You know, all of a sudden plays 20 years and makes a bunch of money and all that stuff. He found a way to go, well, no, I'm playing this week. This is what I'm worried about. Sunday's what I'm worried about, right? And then was able to play a lot of Sundays. How do you think about that, Taylor? I know you got a lot on your plate right now of just being the starting quarterback in an NFL team, but like that happens. That, you know, it's out there. You don't even, you can say, I'm not going to read Twitter. Well, fuck, you're still going to hear it. What do you do with that, Taylor?
Yeah, you know, you kind of hear that throughout college and the NFL. And again, I think, you know, throughout the years, you kind of try and figure out how to deal with it and how to cope with it. And, you know, I came to peace with it, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. And I think my biggest motto is just control what you can control. If they want to go get a new guy, okay, I can't control that. What I can control is, you know, what Rivera always says, you know, attitude, preparation, effort. I come in the facility every day, give it my all. do what I need to do, and try and be the best teammate. And I think if I just do that every day, everything else will take care of itself. If one team doesn't want you, I think another team will want you. It's all about, trying to be the best teammate you can be. And again, if you put good film out there, someone's going to take a chance on you. And, obviously you've seen that with, Kyle and I, and, here we are. No one, if someone told me I was going to be in the league at least 8 years when I was coming out of college, I would have thought you were crazy. But I think that's just a testament to not listening to the noise and controlling what I can control. That's how I go about it.
I think for me, and I want to get your thoughts on this too, Taylor, I think a guy like you in your position, and I'm not saying like the position in Washington right now, I'm just saying the position of like how you're playing quarterback, your background of being an undrafted guy, bouncing around the league, XFL, all that shit, right? Like, I think when front office people and media people look at a guy like you, you're labeled as something different than a first round guy, right? I think you and me have had conversations before about first round guys, high pick guys that have been starters before. They're always going to get more opportunities than guys like you or me. Mm-hmm. So when I look at it, it's like you can play really good. Like you can play better than some other guys that are playing and starting, but you just may not get that opportunity because I feel like the league is, I've been in the league, and you probably feel the same way. The league is a cover your ass type of league, right? Mm-hmm. Like whenever you're making a decision as a front office guy or a coach, you're thinking like, all right, if I make this decision, am I like leaving my neck out on the table, or am I going to be able to cover my ass with this sometime later, right? And so when I look at a guy like you, especially, like you're balling, like the team is behind you, like everywhere you've been, like the people rally behind you. But what is it going to take for the media or front office people to get past all like the bullshit that really doesn't matter, being undrafted? Like I look at a guy like Romo, like someone just had to take a chance on him, right? Like, do you think that goes into it too?
Yeah, I definitely think it does. I mean, that kind of goes into the business aspect of the NFL. You pay a guy, a guy's a big time recruit, and then he's, goes to a big time college and he's a first round draft pick, and you spend a lot of money on him. It's kind of like investing in stock. Like, you're going to give the guy a lot of chances because you spend a lot of money on him. Now you have a guy that's making minimum. Yeah, he might be playing well, but you're not that invested in him. I think that's kind of where it goes. You kind of stick to where the money is, where you spend your money. You're going to give that guy an opportunity. You're going to give him more chances, more opportunities than, guys like you and me. But, that's again, something out of our control. If you just, when our number's called, man, we're ready and we go out there and try and do our best.
Yeah.
Speaking of best, this is one of the better things I've heard in a minute. This deal with your Jordans, and I'm sure you've been annoyed and talked about it in the media a bunch like that, but I don't really care. I want to ask about it. So buying a pair of Jordans every time you get a win in the team colors.
Not only every time, he's buying Jordans all the time, by the way.
That's true.
Yeah.
The guy lives on.
What's your how many pairs of J's do you have?
Now probably about 60.
Jeez.
What?
And it's been
in one location?
Man. No, I got about half up here, half down in Georgia.
60 in 2 years, and the Golden Gooses, don't forget.
What? 60 pairs? Okay. Do you have like a favorite pair?
Nah, it's tough now. I have to.
The next one.
Probably. But now there's two guys that, buy Jordans and then kind of customize them. Mm-hmm. And I go through those two guys to get a lot of my shoes because there's, I like the shoes that no one else has.
Yeah.
So, either one of those shoes or, the Travis Scotts that always come out, those are always sweet. You can wear them with anything.
Yeah, those are sweet.
So I would say Travis Scott's probably my favorite.
Do you have any purple and gold ones?
I don't. So hopefully after this week I do.
Minnesota got many this week. Have you started perusing? Have you started looking at them? Do you have a purple and gold pair in mind?
I think that's bad juju. I'm going to wait.
Yeah, that's smart.
So you wait. Yeah. It's funny. I got my little boys. I only own one pair of Jordans, but I got my boys started. I literally have them like up on the shelf, just like little guy ones.
There we go.
It was funny too. So when I knew I was getting cut at the end of my career, Chad Henne gave me this idea. My wife and I were had been married for a year, maybe two, weren't starting a family anytime soon. And I had like $8,500 left on my Nike Elite account. And I ordered $8,500 worth of kid shoes in all these different sizes, in
Smart.
white and gray and black and neutral colors. And my kids are still busting out brand new Nikes that I ordered back in 2014. You know what I mean? And it was smart because like I don't really pay for kids shoes right now. I got a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a newborn coming in 2 weeks. And so I've just been recycling those shoes. But that was actually kind of how I grew up. I wanted Jordans when I was little. I never got into I wouldn't call myself a sneakerhead. But I got my little guys stuff because anytime they come up on Nike Elite, I'd be like, yeah, we'll just get them. It's fine. Like, those are neutral. It's fine. So even these, like, my son's worn these. You know what I mean? And if I have a baby coming in 2 weeks, I don't know if it's a boy or girl. If it's a girl, she'll wear these too.
She's gonna work.
So
yeah.
And you know what? You can. There's another use for those things. So obviously, me and Kyle are big golfers. JP, are you a big golfer?
I am.
He likes to think I'm taking a lot of money from me. Sorry.
This was a bad 2 off seasons for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. So you can. I have a putter cover now that's a baby shoe. It's a Jordan 1. And you put a sock in it, and it's a sweet putter cover. So like when they get done with those shoes, make those into putter covers and you can sell them. So I mean, it's a really cool deal.
Way to be sustainable, Taylor. Way to keep the environment going.
I like that. We should do some sort of like giveaway or something like that, Kyle. Like some sort of thing with the community and all that, and win like Jordan's sons. Jordan that's now a putter cover thanks to Taylor Heinecke. We'll brand it. It'll be good.
Every time Taylor wins, he'll order one for himself, and then he'll order one for us, and we can give it away to the people.
Every time the Commanders win, a guy gets a putter head cover.
That's
There
great.
we go.
All right, Taylor, I know it's late by you, so we're just going to do 2 quick more segments. We'll let you go, get started on Minnesota. Me, you, and Jordan have been around a lot of the same people in the league. I think we were talking about it before the show, too, but we know a lot of the same people. Shout out to Steven Montez. He won't be a part of this game.
Hey, shout out to Ken Zampese. He was my quarterback coach for 4 years.
Dang.
Shout out to Ken Zampese.
Z. The Diet Pepsi burps.
Oh, so good.
Yep.
Shout out to
Dude.
Yep. I told Luke to burp on the
Oh,
show.
LDR. Yeah. And LDR,
Yeah.
I've known him since Elite 11 kid in high school. So.
Oh, man. Luke sent me a picture of Zamp in the his outfit yesterday. And I sent it.
It's funny too because when it comes to Luke Del Rio, like everyone knows Jack Del Rio as like a coach or as like either they're like a fan and they know him as Jack Del Rio or they like played for Jack Del Rio. I know him as like the dad of the kid that I was training. So it's a totally different perspective. You know what I mean? It's Jack.
Yeah.
Jack's
You know? So
funny.
different.
So what we're going to do, though, is we play a first impressions game, right? I'm going to read you off a name, and this is going to be a little different, Jordan. We're going to go back and forth between you and Taylor since you guys know a lot of the same people. So, Taylor, we're going to start with you. When I say the name, we're going to go back and forth, right? So say the first word that comes to your head. Jordan, you go, and then we'll go back and forth until you guys run out on each name.
I'm
right?
I'm in on this too?
Yeah, you're in on this. You're great off the cuff.
All right.
You're good. We're going to start off Cam Newton.
Swaggy.
One of one. If I have to be one word, unique.
Makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah, he does. Nicknames.
Ooh, lovey-dovey.
Heinecke. No, that's actually
Loud. Vocally,
Loud.
fashion-wise, everything's loud.
all right. We'll go to the next one.
He's
Funny.
funny.
Very
as hell.
funny. Funniest. I think he might be the funniest teammate of all time.
Probably, most likely.
Like, not even close. Do you watch his YouTube channel? He's got a YouTube channel.
I've seen clips on the Instagram where he's interviewing like big time people.
Bro, he is hilarious. He had like Brittany Renner on the other day. I forgot. It was like some girl who was like an Instagram model or something, and she had a book. And she goes, "Did you read my book?" And he's fucking smoking his cigar. He goes, "Spark Notes." Oh, he's dying. He doesn't care at all.
Oh, he's great.
All right, next one. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Beard.
Witty. He's a different kind of funny. He's
Different
smart
kind.
funny.
Ivy League.
Yeah, he's almost like too smart funny. Like a lot of all the jokes he says goes over my head. I'm like, hold up, I have to think.
Yeah,
about
or
it
you don't
real
know if
quick.
he's being serious or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell it like real quick, and then we'll get one more. Tell us about when you met him at the Masters.
Okay, so it's 2020, so it's COVID year, and I think you still had to wear masks there.
No, you didn't. I went there. I was there the same year. You didn't have.
You didn't?
No, you didn't have to.
Okay.
But there was
Then
only like 7,000 people there. Remember, there was like nobody there.
yeah, because it was only like 30% occupation or whatever. So it's the first time I met him. He's never seen me or met me before, and I'm sitting there with like 3 bags full of polos, and he's sitting there with his dad, and I just
Fresh out
dropped
the gift shop. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
$10,000
drop all my
later.
bags. Yeah. I drop all my bags and I like open my arms, and he has no idea who I am. I have like my sunglasses on. I take my sunglasses off and he finally recognizes me. He's like, dude, I thought you were trying to fight me. I didn't know who the hell you were.
It's so funny. And then I met him at the Masters 2 days later. That was great. His dad is, you probably know his dad,
Yeah.
Jordan. His dad is exactly like him. They're the same person. It's-
Yeah.
All right. 2 more. Alex Smith.
Professional.
A fighter, not just because the leg injury, but it's 7 coordinators his first 7 years in the league, and everybody counted him out. Dealt with the Aaron Rodgers bullshit forever, and he played his best season was year 12 with Kansas City. So
Yeah, the year that they drafted Pat, right?
yep,
Same year.
yep.
Yeah. Great golfer. Also, his leg is crazy.
Crazy.
I haven't seen it in
Crazy.
person.
When
Dude.
And on the other word I'd use is super freaking handsome. That guy's from
Yeah,
day
no
one.
homo.
Yeah. He's like
Really
the most
homo.
beautiful family. His wife's gorgeous. He's super handsome, always like dialed in, swaggy with the
Yeah.
San Francisco Giants hat on. Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah. All right, last one. Ron Rivera. There's only one thing you need to say. Ape.
Yeah. I'm say he's the homie, man. Like
Me, he really is, man.
he's my favorite head coach I've ever played for. He's a player's coach. He brings all the guys together. He lets you be yourself, man. He lets you just be your authentic self. So he's the homie for sure.
I'd say real. Yeah. His reputation as a player, similar as a coach. Just a real dude.
Yeah, real dude. He was on the 85 Bears, right? He was on that team. He's been around forever. You weren't there when he was going through cancer, but when he was going through cancer, didn't miss a day. He was on the sidelines during games. Had to go in and get IVs during chemo, like as real as they come. And he's given you and me both opportunities to be in this league. Like we're honestly indebted to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, dude. Thanks for coming on. We got one more thing before you go. We do this with everyone. We call it the 2-minute drill. It's basically your journey. I mean, we talked about your journey a lot, but it's your journey through your eyes. You know, like you can start from wherever you want. It ends today, right now, with what's going on. But just from you, we'll put 2 minutes up. You can use as much as you want because we've already talked a ton about your journey. But through your eyes, just tell us what it's like to be Taylor Heinecke.
It's a roller coaster, man. Lots of highs, lots of lows. But, you know, I wouldn't want it any way different. I think it's kind of molded me into the guy I am today. And, you know, this game of football is a game of life, man. You need a lot of people, you know, on your team that help you, and you got to count on. And, you know, you think a game's going to go a certain way. You think your life's going to go a certain way, and you get knocked down. And it's all about how you get back up and respond to it. So, you know, I use everything that helps me succeed at football. You know, I use the same things that help me succeed in life. And, you know, it's a very beautiful game. As tough as it is, you know, life is tough. So, that's how I kind of go about my life in football. And, you know, again, it's a roller coaster. Life's a roller coaster, man. You know, when you think you have it all figured out, you know, it comes tumbling down. And it's, you know, how you build it back up. So, you know, that's kind of my life in a nutshell. And hopefully we can keep this thing going.
Well, dude, you're not supposed to be where you're at right now. You're not supposed to be a starting quarterback in the league. You're not supposed to be in the league. None of this stuff is supposed to be happening. Same thing for you, Kyle. Not supposed to beat Minnesota, not supposed to win the NFC East, but you are here and you are playing. So I know people say, why not us and all that stuff, but like, for real, dude,
Literally.
like adjust your horizon and your view over how this is going to go. I tell young guys when they're going in college to start, or guys hit the rookie season to start, don't give anybody too much credit. They got to play you. And you're not a young guy who doesn't need advice from me, but I would say that, dude, don't give anybody too much credit. They got to play you. And that's becoming a problem for people. And I'm fired up, man. I my favorite players. I love watching the perennial Hall of Famers. That's great. We all love football. We all want to watch, Aaron play Tom, on Sunday Night Football for sure. But it's stories like yours that I gravitate towards. And as a guy who helps young people for a living, it's stories like yours that I use as an example because they shouldn't make it to the league from statistical reasons anyways. So you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to do any of the amazing stuff you're going to do. Who gives a shit? Go do it, man. I'm fired up to watch you do it.
That's right, man. I appreciate that, JP.
Awesome.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for taking the time. I'm stoked you came on. I was really excited for you to come on. A lot of reasons, like one of my favorite teammates, but also I just wanted people to see like, you're just like a dude, man. Like one of the coolest dudes in the locker room. And I think that's an underrated thing in the NFL is just relationships you build with people in the locker room, the people that you respect, the time you put in. Like you're one of the best I've seen do it. And I feel like you and me have kind of grown up in this league together. So it's nice to reconnect here. And we'll see you in a couple weeks, huh? Week 11?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, man.
I'm going to be tell Scott, I'm telling all the secrets. So don't worry.
Better change those signals up.
We have to change everything up.
Come out this spring, man. Come spin and play some golf, man.
Oh, I'd love to.
Oh, he loves Newport. He loves OC.
Newport guy?
Big
Oh,
OC
man.
guy now.
I tell you what, every time I'm out there, I'm like, I'm moving here.
He used to hate California until he came to OC.
Come on.
That's the only part of California I like.
Yeah,
Same.
baby. All right. Thanks for coming. Get it.
All right,
brother.
guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yep.
All right. That was Taylor Heinecke. That was your first time meeting him. Like you said, we recorded that interview earlier today, but just a hell of a dude. Like great story, journey. Like you and me talk about journey all the time. You talk about journey with all the quarterbacks you train. Like what a freaking journey, man. I mean,
It's just so easy to think that everybody makes millions and they're super famous and that they just like went from college to the league and then now they're playing. And it's like case in point. There's a bunch of Heineckes all across the field, by the way. There's a Heinicke at corners, a Heinicke at guard, there's a Heinicke at 3 technique. So he's a great representation of a dude who's a fighter and figures it out and doesn't count himself out and doesn't really listen to what anybody says. He believes what he believes about himself. And then poof, here he is on a 2-game win streak.
yeah, he's killing it. All right. That was episode 12. Appreciate you coming. If you're still here right now after the Taylor interview, subscribe to the channel. Subscribers are going up. Once we get to 5K, I'm going to give away a signed jersey. I know that's just like gold these days. It's crazy. Kyle Allen, crazy. But once we get to 5K, I'm going to give one away. Go to our Instagram, The Room with Kyle and JP. Follow us there. We're posting content there. We got a lot of great guests coming up. I think the back end of the season, we got a ton of really good guests coming up. It's going to ramp up. We got a lot of good NFL guys. Once we get into college football playoffs, we're going to have a lot of fun stuff around that. So I'm really pumped for it to get to the second half of the season where football really starts to matter, right? Doesn't really matter how you play in September, October. It really matters how you play late in the year. Jordan, just to end it off, what are you grateful for this week?
Man, I got baby number 3 coming and supposed to be in like 10 days, but could be any day here. So it's my 3rd kid. A miracle of life. It is totally a miracle. It's like you come together, fast forward through what happens then, and then all of a sudden this baby comes out. They like have your characteristics. They act like you. They look like you. They think like you. And it is just the craziest thing. And so I don't understand how people can have a kid and not believe in like some greater power because it's pretty incredible, and miracle is not an understatement. So really grateful that we get to do that. Got a lot of friends and family who've not been able to stay on the schedule of the life that they had planned out for themselves with kids. You're going to have a lot of teammates if you don't already. You'll experience that. And so I just feel really grateful that I get to bring a 3rd little Palmer into the family.
Young River coming soon.
Baby River.
Can't wait.
Either way, boy or girl. So we'll do some fun stuff. We got to figure out the whole situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
We got me and Summer got a present coming for you guys pretty soon. I think Dottie's going to like it a lot.
Nice.
I am grateful for a short week. We got Eagles on Thursday night. We got pummeled by the Titans, and there's nothing better than after losing a game like that to be able to play real quick and get it out of your brain. So I'm thankful. We got a tough game against the Eagles, though. The Eagles look really good. Like, awesome on defense, awesome on offense. Hoping we can pull out a win, man. We need to get back in the W column, get the spirits up around here. But thankful for that. We're playing quick, man. Ready to go.
Go do it. Thanks so much. Episode 12. Got some banger guests coming up. Leave some comments. Let us know. Like Kyle said, like, subscribe, turn notifications on, all that good stuff. We will see you next week.
Good, man.
I just